For the record, I lost track of time. I have no excuse. Not today. I hope everyone's doing well. Let's see who's all in the chat. Let's see, we got Cheese Freak Ginger Snap, Susan Robertson, Cindy Finn. We'll talk about that. Titan. I can't find anything today. Man, this is nuts. Gene Hudson. Susan Robertson. All right, we'll give everyone a few more minutes to hop in. But yeah, we're just hanging out tonight. I would like to keep the conversation more towards Revelation because that's where we were, just sort of a wrap-up night. I think next week we'll go back to Abraham. And we left off with him meeting Melchizedek. So we'll pick up there next week. Gene picked up a bag of dog food in the car and slept. You know what? I've had that kind of a day. Not today, but yes, I understand exactly where you're going. So I just saw Cheese Freak Ginger Snap's post or comment. Sure, whatever. I mean, hey, Image 1953 and Tom. I mean, there's got to be a better way to keep them away from your chickens, isn't there? I mean, just saying. But it's running sometime, but a close look at the difference between test trials. You know what? That's a great question. You know what, Titan? That's a great question. I think that sounds like a Sunday question. Not this Sunday because we're talking about the Feast of Sukkot. But yeah, I think that's a Sunday question. I like that. And Tom, I understand you have to rewatch that. That's I get it. Okay, so yeah, Cindy, that was my thought. Like fake owls, like don't they sell fake owls for stuff like that? Like I know we used to have them over when I worked in downtown. We had several fake owls that we put up just to keep other birds away, and so I mean, just seems like it'd be more efficient use of your time. But you know what? They're your chickens. Just saying. I don't know anything about them. So yeah, I mean, basically tonight we're just going to take questions. It's just sort of a hangout. No real thing. Just eschatology in general. Just whatever questions you want. I have nothing prepared. This week has not been good for preparing anything at all. I was sick the first 2 days. Still had to work. Felt I was better yesterday. And hey, Brunson. Yeah, so I was sick the first 2 days, and this week has just been actually work's been really good. We finally got 2 more people sort of helping us out, but they're only there for like half the time, so it's like only getting 1 person. But that was enough to help. I just had stuff to do, and my allergies have been killing me. I mean, just it's sad. Did that and well, you know what? I don't know anything about owls. I mean, natural owls. Well, I know they regurgitate their food. They don't because of they just eat the mice whole. So they have to regurgitate the whole thing out. So I know that. And I know they've got much longer legs than you think. Like seeing an owl, like an owl's legs. Just saying. Hold on. So Image 1953. Do you mean like Weezer, as in? Oh, never mind. Steel Magnolias. Okay, you were about to be really cool there for a second. Hey, Lisa. Love Weezer. You know what I was really disappointed in recently? Offspring. They fired their drummer because he has Guillain-Barré. I think is how you pronounce it. Texan, don't ever trust me. But yeah, he has Guillain-Barré and syndrome, so he can't take vaccines, and so they fired him, and I was very disappointed. It seems like all the punk rock guys, like, don't get me wrong, I get Rage Against the Machine was never actually punk; they were always communists. So I don't. That doesn't. So the fact that they're all like, raging on behalf of the machine, so like I said, that doesn't bother me. Offspring bothered me. I'm a big fan of Weezer. Titan, not just Revelation, I'd say eschatology in general. You know what? Yeah, let's keep it more towards eschatology, but I guess that also kind of falls since we're literally in Revelation 12 versus, Revelation 12:5 between A and B. I guess also that would mean that would include some degree of, uh, I guess common, whatever's happening right now. So, but yeah, the question is eschatology. So, but we're kind of in the middle of eschatology right now, so that also means current events. So that's it. But yeah, those are the questions. But it doesn't have to be specifically Revelation because eschatology is all throughout the Bible. I mean, it's everywhere. So, just saying. Yes, the music was awesome. Okay, MH1953, not eschatology, but that's actually a great question, and that's one I can probably answer. Because we went back over it in Genesis, right? It wasn't the items that were brought; it was the faith. It was the faith in them. That was the point. Now, there is in the text again. The problem is it's in Hebrew. Not you get more of the nuance in Hebrew, but if we look in the New Testament, it says it was a lack of faith. So Abel, right, brought the fat of his flock, and it was because he was bringing the best, and he had faith that it mattered. Cain did not bring the best of his, and he didn't have any real faith in it. He was just doing it because it's what was supposed to be done, and he wasn't doing the best. Now, I do think there's a while those are the mainline answers given, and that's what's extrapolated from the New Testament, I do think there's another step, though, and that is understanding the nature of sacrifices, right? If we look at, yes, the Old Testament does allow certain specific grain offerings, right? There were certain things that you did bring flour or, wave offerings, wine offerings, offerings of oil. These things were acceptable in certain circumstances, in particular cases for certain festivals, an event had happened in your life, that kind of thing. But for the forgiveness of sin, there must be the shedding of blood. The peace offering between man and God was always ultimately Jesus, but he was the ox, right? The bull. That was the peace offering. Sin offerings were usually, it was you had doves and sheep, and then there were goats. Again, they were all specific things that were to be given, right? But they had to be a living thing for the shedding of blood, because all of the sacrifices ultimately points to Jesus, right? They were types and shadows of Jesus. So that would be the thing. Yes, there were grain and drink offerings that were allowed, but they were specific, and they were for certain days and or sins and or festivals, right? Whereas the implication of Cain and Abel is that this was a sin offering that requires the shedding of blood. Always did. There's no one in the Old Testament ever gave like a loaf of bread and God was like, all right, your sins are good. Never happened. So that's why that would be the thing. Cheese free ginger substance. I always wanted because Cain loved the land, produced. Well, and again, it goes back to the thing we are told specifically that there was no faith. Particularly in the New Testament, they expand on this. Cain didn't have faith in what he was doing. And that was sort of the problem. And again, this goes back to, look at Aaron's sons, right? They put they call it a strange fire. I mean, it was not what God had prescribed to be done for their rituals, and they died because you were standing before God. And when you, the whole idea of strange fire was they were taking something that God said, this is what you're supposed to do, and they weren't doing it, and they were not doing it deliberately. Well, that's when you don't do what God says, and you do it deliberately. And what it means is, ultimately, there's no faith there. You're not living out or expressing the faith. And so, particularly to stand before the face of God, as Aaron's sons did, as Cain and Abel did, because remember, God was still walking with them, right? So again, okay, so Titan, again, yes, that's the point, but I think it's not a physical thing. That's not some people tried the whole physical thing. It makes it weird. It's not in the text. It makes it weird. No one actually believes that. And until later, we have occultists who claim, okay, for those who don't know, there are later occultists who have claimed that the apple wasn't actually, or it's not even an apple, but the fruit of the tree of knowledge was not the only thing that occurred, but rather that Satan and Eve messed around, and that Cain was Satan's child, and Abel was Adam's child. There's no reason to believe this. It really is just occultists trying to really make things look ugly, uglier than they need to be, because that's what occultists do, because they worship Satan. Again, Cain is of the evil one because he killed his brother, because he didn't have faith in God, right? Well, we know Eve wasn't. That's the thing. We know it didn't occur. It's definitely not in the text. The only people who believe it are literally occultists from the last 500 years. It's like the same thing with Lilith, right? The idea that Lilith was Adam's first wife comes from German rabbinical scholars 500 years ago who didn't understand Hebrew. It's just there's stuff that we entertain today that's just complete crap. Anyway, and there's no reason, like Joe. I'm going to get off on the whole thing. Cain was of the evil one because he murdered his brother, because he didn't have faith in God. Because of that lack of faith, sin consumed him. That's the entire point, right? And that, again, it's the same reason Peter was also Satan when he was telling Jesus he didn't have to die. When you're not with God, when you're not following God, when you're not obeying God, when you have that lack of faith in God, the thing that steps in is Satan, and that's who you side with. And that's why we keep making, like, when we lose focus of God, we lose that focus and that faith. We're like, well, we'll make this little compromise over here, but then the next thing you know, you're way over here. Why? Because if you stray at all from that, Satan's bringing you this way. Same thing with Cain. Again, it wasn't about. Again, yes, he was not supposed to have brought grain items, right? That's not what he was supposed to bring. Straight up, they knew, and it's implicit in the text that they understood that. But ultimately, the reason he did was because he didn't have any real faith. The reason he didn't express it, the reason he thought, well, I'll just throw some food or some bread, or maybe he made raisins. I don't know. Maybe he gave him a pizza. Whatever it was, whatever the produce he brought, it was like, well, this will be fine. It's sort of like when you're going to that party at the friend's house, your work friend, and you're like, I don't really want to be here, right? And so you swing by, and you're like, I could go to, like, the Good Baker and, like, get a nice pie, but you go to Walmart, right? Or you go to Aldi, and you get, like, the off-brand chips, right? You're not getting the big bag of the on the border chips that are awesome, right? You go to Aldi and you get their brand. Or maybe you're at the Walmart and you're like, well, I could get this big bag of really good chips. Or I could get the Walmart, right? It's the same thing. He clearly didn't use, he wasn't bringing his best because he didn't actually have faith, because he didn't want to be there. He was just doing what he was doing. It's always of the heart. That is always the thing. If you believed that it worked, great example. Okay. Again, reason I'm looking for another channel or for another place to do this particular show, so we don't have to talk around things. If the donkeys really did believe that the vacuum cleaner actually worked against the beer that's going around, then they would have voted for, because this came up for a vote. Hey, Bat Mom. Because it came up for a vote that those who are entering the country illegally would have to have received the vacuum cleaner for said beer that's going around. But they all voted against it. That tells you they don't what the donkeys really think about the vacuum cleaner, right? If they genuinely believe that vacuum cleaner was the miracle vacuum cleaner that everyone said that it was, then they'd be like, yeah, of course, everyone, you're coming in, we're good, we need to give you the vacuum cleaner. It's clearly Chinese. Chinese beer is terrible. Always just saying. So it's the same thing, right? If the donkeys really believed, they'd be like, you give that vacuum cleaner to everyone coming in, legal or illegal, right? So they don't, because they don't really believe it. In the same way, if Cain actually believed that sacrifices were what worked, right, and that he was supposed to, and he had faith, then he would have brought an offering that was acceptable. But he didn't, because he didn't believe it. So he's like, instead of going and bringing the thing that's asked for, he's like, I don't really think this is going to work. I'm going to bring the cheap stuff again, like like I said, like when you go to that party you don't really want to be at, and you get the off-brand small bag because it's the cheapest thing possible, and just like so you just don't look like that guy, right? It's the same thing. That's all it is. So it wasn't about necessarily the items. It was the heart that was behind it, but also the heart that was behind it is why he brought those things. I don't know if that makes any sense, and I don't know if that clears anything up at all, since we did talk about vacuum cleaners and chips. But whatever. I saw one thing. Hold on. We find out in the Bible about seeing cryptids. Although we find nothing in the Bible about seeking cryptids, UFOs, ghosts, I would. Oh, a Titan. That's okay. You know what? I was trying to keep us on track for Revelation, but fine. At this point, whatever. So, Gene, I understand. So the Titans question. In fact, let me put up Titans question because it's a great. I think a lot of us probably have this issue, right? So for those who are listening, being the Halloween season, although we find nothing in our Bible about seeking cryptids, UFOs, ghosts, how would you explain that to our fellow Christians? I happen to have I wrote a book. There it is, called How. Yes, Bat Mom, you do have issues, but that's fine. That's why we love you. Oh, by the way, Bat Mom, let me know. Did you get the card for the gentleman that I sent you? Just let me know. My we're having issues with our mail carriers lately. Anyway, So, I just completely lost my. Yeah, the book. So, I wrote how UFOs and Bigfoot prove the Bible is true. Right. All right, bet Mom, I'll do another one. Nope, not that one. Different one. Also available on Amazon.com though. Uh, and in fact, it's actually one of the ones I sell the most of. That one and Lucifer, I think. But yeah, that one is the one I sell the most of. Here's the deal, and I've said this on shows. I'm like, well, what does the Bible have to do with Sasquatch? Nothing. Ain't got nothing to do with it. Even if you're one of those people who believe that Job, when it talks about the sons of fools that bray like donkeys and eat mallow plants and live in dried riverbeds, even if you think that those are Bigfoot, I'm not sold on that. The broader the thing I point out is it's not really about whether or not there are living Bigfoot or living pterosaurs or other dinosaurs. Not no one thing is important at all from a biblical perspective. However, a world in which we have living dinosaurs and Bigfoot and sea monsters and paranormal entities that move through walls and can be cast out by the name of Jesus, and UFOs do the exact same thing, right? Um, all of these things combined are exactly what you would expect if the Bible were true. For me, the reason I am doing all of this is because I believe that cryptozoology, the paranormal research, all of it shows that the world we actually live in is the world of the Bible. This is why in my firm belief as to why the modern news media, academia, the reason they don't want anything to do with these things, right, is because they understand this proves the Bible is true. If we've got living dinosaurs, they didn't die out 65 million years ago, did they? If we have paranormal entities that are repelled at the name of Jesus, and by the way, the inhabitants and the pilots of these UFOs also do the same, then you got some problems. You got some issues. Unless you're a Christian, in which case everything makes sense. It's exactly what you expect the world to look like. So the problem is, from a Darwinian perspective, we shouldn't have living dinosaurs and Bigfoot and UFOs. But we do. And that's why they don't like cryptids. That's why, now, the UFO thing is going to be adopted by Darwinists because they need those UFOs. We've come to the point where science is undeniably showing that evolution doesn't work, not on this planet. So, yes, Titan is a form of witnessing. It's to showcase that this world is what God says it is. Everything I do, if anyone ever asks, I need this to. I hate talking about the Bible when I don't have it in front of me. Everything I do in one way or another is designed to showcase this book. Not just, hey, isn't it cool that we have the book? But rather, this book shows this is true. Some parts may be poetic, maybe poetically written, not scientifically written the way we would want, but it is poetically written and it's still true. It is fundamentally accurate. We have to get past our preconceived notions, right? It's like we have to face it on its own terms, but that it's fundamentally accurate. Because this is the way the world really is. This is the world we actually live in. Not what MSNBC says and CNN and Fox News and Harvard and Yale and Dartmouth and your Aunt Edna, right? I mean, it's none of this. It's all of that's lies, right? It's all lies. We have to showcase that this is that this book is the way to life. And if it is the way to life, then it should be accurate. And if it's accurate, then you have your answer. If we have living dinosaurs and paranormal entities that are repelled in Jesus' name, that means this book is true. So, like I said, it's not, when people ask, well, why do we, these, and by the way, here's how you know it matters. Ask them one question. Can you name a major Hollywood franchise, or name 5 major Hollywood franchises that has come out of the last 20 years that didn't include ancient astronaut theory in one way or another? And we can just start off with, that's not the Fast and Furious franchise, right? Not Fast and Furious, and definitely not Harry Potter, because that's all wizard stuff. But just name 5. I mean, multi-movied, billion-dollar franchises. Go. You can't. In one way or another, there's an ancient astronaut point. I just saw Batmom's comment. It's the simple fact matters. Nearly every major franchise has some allusion to ancient astronaut theory. Why? Because that's the next big lie. Every pastor will tell you ancient astronaut theory is the next great lie. That's the thing that's coming. That's what we're fighting against. And okay, well, if that's the case, then why aren't we fighting it? That's the truth. We're not fighting it. The church isn't talking about it. Why do these things matter? Because they do matter. Because if they didn't matter, Hollywood wouldn't be spending time on it. Because that's just as much a tool of the enemy as anything else is. That's why we got to pay attention. And that's the thing, right? We have the great trick against that people have played on Christians and conservatives for the last 30, 40, 50 years is, do you really want to die on this hill? Like, is this really that big of a deal? Like Halloween, right? Again, Moms and Miracles, love them. We do disagree on a few things. It's not big. I'm probably slightly more nuanced than they are. But fundamentally, yeah, they are absolutely true. They're absolutely right on the whole thing about Halloween. And probably we can even argue Christmas. It's like, hey, this is the high holy, Halloween is the high holy day for Satanists. Yeah, let's not talk against it. Let's try and Christianize it a little bit. Let's bring witches into the church, and let's hang scary skeletons at the church, and let's put up this stuff and this. You do it a little bit at a time, because you don't want to die on that hill, right? And the problem is when you keep not dying on those hills, you'll run out of hills. So yeah, we need to die on this hill, because this is the next big hill. Just saying. And that's how we have to explain it to them. Now, I will say this, and I do think this is something I've tried to say for a long time. Not everyone needs to be into this. We don't need 1,000 people doing what I'm doing. Like, we have a handful of people doing what I'm doing. I think don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind a little more help, but I do think, what we need is less opposition, right? Like, there doesn't need to be 1,000 me's or 1,000 MA or LA Marzulis running around. We just don't need them. We're specialists, right? We need more people. We do need people talking about families and drugs and alcohol, but we're specialists. We exist for a reason, And we just need, what we need is less resistance from the church. That's what we need. But again, I do think that, just saw the thing about Elvis. But here's the thing. Ultimately, I think the actual church isn't really in opposition to me or those like me. It's those who are addicted to the system, which means they're not really the church. Just saying. We are not talking about Elvis. I'm letting us go astray, right? And not talking about eschatology. That's fine. I'm okay with it. But we're not talking about Elvis. I do not like potato salad. I'm a very picky eater, sadly. You wouldn't know it to look at me, but I'm not a potato salad fan. Just haven't been. Or sweet beans. Like, I hate baked beans. Beans should not be sweet, in my opinion. Just saying. This is what I get for not planning. Elvis and now Bruce Lee. Anyway. Elvis is dead. Bruce Lee is dead. His son is dead, sadly. So disappointed in y'all. So, outside of that, outside of Elvis being dead, Tupac's still alive. I mean, Tupac's alive. I mean, Elvis is definitely dead. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got today. I'm out. I have to go back to work. I really don't want to. No, Bruce Lee is dead. Home dude died. Trust me on that one. And no. You know what? No one's gonna get this reference. Yes, Elvis is still alive, but he's at a nursing home in East Texas. The guy who died. And by the way, he's in East Texas with JFK, whose brain was put into another gentleman so he could hide out from the CIA. Just saying. Hold on. The Queen, she says that he was. Okay, hold on. Did the Queen die, or is? I haven't heard anything about the Queen dying. Hold on. Queen Elizabeth. Hospital stay. All right, so yeah, she's still alive, 95 years old. Oh, hold on, there was an update. Hold on. Wait, though. Yeah, she's still alive. Yeah, looks like the Queen's still alive. Nope. So we're good there. Jesus' real birth date. Okay, so here's the thing. I would argue I do know his birth date. It's in my book. I can't remember off the top of my head because I can't prove that it is his birthday, but I think it might be. It's April. Hold on, allergies. Sorry. Yeah, so allergies. I think it's in April. I'll in fact give me 2 seconds. I will look it up. But while I look it up, let me answer another question. Hey Daniela. Yeah, she was sick last week. Uh, do, is the, Titan. So let me answer Titan's question while I look up the date of that I think Jesus may have been born. So Titan was asking about pyramids found across the earth. Is that a ancient astronaut prop thing? Um, so that's a great question. I think we have to remember when it comes to things like pyramids, um, everyone who got off the ark, right, had the same level of technology. But when we come to say, the Tower of Babel, not everyone had the same probably had the same number of people. I think this is one of those big questions everyone seems to forget. Everyone sort of starts off with the same level of technology, but they don't always have the ability to execute on that. And what I mean by that is, let's say you know how to build a house, right? But uh, one group has 100 people, the other group has 10. Well, who's going to build the most houses? And who's going to be able to have enough, who's going to be able to build more complicated houses? Well, obviously, the people with 100 people, right? That just seems obvious. Um, so the more advanced pyramids were built by groups that had more workers. The least sophisticated pyramids were built by smaller cultures, but they all had the same level of technology. And the thing is, coming off the ark, everyone knows this flood, and so they're probably trying to build things that will withstand the. Hold on 1 second. It's pulling remarkably strong and long lasting. So I think that's why everyone was doing it. However, we also have to understand everyone because mountains we're sort of seeing where that's where God is. And of course, though people change their minds and it gets diluted. Yeah, we're having some high winds and some internet difficulties at the moment. So to sum up, I think the whole thing about pyramids comes down to the cultures that built them, right? They all had the same thoughts, right? They all had the same information, same plans, so they're doing the same things, but each one gets reinterpreted within a certain culture. And part of that probably does determine is also partially determined by how many people they actually had to do the work, right? That's why some cultures did much more elaborate pyramids, others did step pyramids, stuff like that. But I do think it's being utilized again for ancient alien theory. I don't think it would start off that way, but I do think it's being used that way now. And I found the answer here. So let me go down where was the okay? So Okay, so there's two options here. The first is, there it is. It's September 11th of 3 BC. That's your first option. However, my thought is it's actually June 17th of 2 BC. Because that's when Venus and Jupiter came into alignment. We went over the whole Revelation 12 alignment, right? So the first day of the series of alignments that foretold Jesus' birth to the Magi, the first one is September 11th of 3 BC. So that is so some people have stipulated that maybe that was his birth date. However, because that's the day he was first seen, right? That's what Herod points to. However, I think he was born in June, on June 17th of 2 BC. And the reason for that is that's when Jupiter and Venus come into alignment. I think that was the thing that seals the deal for the Magi. If I had to guess, it would be one of those two dates. And if I had to put money on it, it would be June 17th of 2 BC. So that's my thought. Okay. Cheese freak. I don't know what do you mean those are not Aries? Don't know what you mean by that. Uh, I couldn't tell you. I know I'm a Libra, but it's possible. What? No, I'm again not into astrology. I'm into astronomy, not astrology. So I couldn't tell you if he's a Gemini or not. Uh, So that was it. So yeah, June. But again, there's no way. The problem is there's no way to actually know if he was born on that date. Let's go back to that point. It does, however, line up with the with the shepherds watching the flock by night, right? Because what they're doing is they're watching for births. But again, there's no way to know. And truth be told, there's no requirement for him to have been born on any of those days or even during those periods. So, yeah, we don't know. Yes, we are. I am going to collaborate on a book about the New Testament, the Apocrypha, and Enoch, and all that. And I'm actually going to make a video on that for Siru. Just these things take some time. There's a lot of information to go through, and I'm not being paid to do any of that, so it just takes even longer when I got to pay the bills. Gene, no one's heard from Lamp of Light for a while. And Batmom, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Like, it's, trust me, I've looked into it, and just in case it did mean something, it doesn't. It's the problem is it's like with most psychics, right? It's all of these things are vague enough, but they're vague. They're what's called vaguely specific. And if you understood how a lot of it's done, you understand. Okay, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's just to play with our heads. Humans are remarkably easy to fool, right? Gene, we all should be. Unfortunately, we haven't heard from him in a while. Same thing with Mr. D Knuckle. They all just seem to have disappeared. But that's okay. People come, people go. But it's the thing with psychics or astrology. It's all manipulation of the mind. right? Yes, Daniela does love popping pimples, which is why I love sending her those videos. She loves them so much. But it's about manipulating people's minds, right? And let's be honest, it's not like we haven't seen how easily people are manipulated over the last couple of years, right? No, can't possibly imagine what that would look like, but just saying. We'll leave it at that. Any last questions? I think we're gonna cut a little early. I do need to get back to work. Any question to end on, or shall we? Yes, cheese free ginger snap. Psalm 39 and Lamp of Light are the same person. They just same name, different name, same person. Uh, uh, oh, that's a great question. The 153 fish. I and a lot of people, I think there's significance to that number. I've never, you know what? I think we're gonna look it up right now. Because I've always thought that it was odd that they did focus in on the fact that they caught 153 fish. And usually, if the Bible's pointing something out, it's significant. But I've never understood the significance. But I haven't looked at it all that closely either. So let's just take a look at here. Because we now have the ability to ask all kinds of questions of the internet. Well, that didn't pulled up Strong's G153. Let's take a look here. Maybe someone else has looked this up. Significance of 153 fish. That pulled up. Ah, okay. That actually doesn't that makes sense. Hold on. Okay, I got it. So there's a couple of opinions on this one. One theory is that there was a belief at the time that there was only 153 kinds of fish at the time, right? Um, and so the 153 would have been symbolic of the 153 different species of fish, which means metaphorically the whole world, right? Because we have to remember, why does Jesus send out 70 disciples? Because 70 is the number of the spirits, right? That's the theory. There's 70 nations, and true. So here's the thing: truth be told, there's probably more than that, but 70 is actually a metaphoric number for many, right? So there's 70 nations, 70 spirits of the nations. That's why every time you see the number 70 show up in the Bible, it's always like there's 70 leaders and there's 70 this and 70 disciples. It is God pointing to all of mankind with that. So it's if the Jews did believe at the time that there were 153 kinds of fish in the ocean, then Jesus saying, "Drop your net over, and they pull up exactly 153." Then the obvious metaphor is, well, that's one fish for every kind of fish that there is. And then he says, I will make you fishers of men. That means Jesus is and his disciples are for all of humanity, right? The 153 nations, so all kinds of people. The alternative to that is that there were 153,000 workers supposedly who built the temple, and so they think that it's more a meta that it's not that there were actually 153,000, but rather that 153 is a number for just too many to count. So when you're saying, well, there was like 153,000, you're not saying actually 153,000 people were working, but rather this was a massive workforce. Those are the two theories. One, that it's symbolic of the whole world, all the nations, right? The other one is that it's just a very large number beyond counting. They just got so many fish they couldn't count it, and that's sort of that was sort of a first century way of saying, well, it's like I got 153 fish. You're just saying it's too many fish to count. Those are your two options. I'll let you choose because I kind of like the nations one, to be honest. So, 8:15. Let me see that question. But yes, Dr. Pimple Popper is the bomb deity, and no one loves Dr. Pimple Popper more than Daniela. She loves it when you send her videos of pimples being popped. Absolutely, she loves it more than anything. In fact, what y'all should all do right now, once this is over, find the grossest, the most squirtiest, the the more the more putrescent the pimple popping video, send that to her. She loves it. Mm-hmm. I think I'm missing the question. Oh, China, I already said, yeah, I'm collaborating on a book, but we don't have an ETA on that one. It's just there's too many things right now, but we are working for it. Just saying. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. 153 fish, symbolic of Jesus' ministry going out to the whole world. I think it's a good way to end. So next week we're going to go back to Abraham. Yes, even redheads. The hoof GP, yes. Oh, I've sent her one. She loves the ones with the bubbling, squirting pus for the hoofs for cows. She loves those more than anything. I tell you what, I sent her some of those, and she's like, "Thank you. I love these squirting pus videos with the with the cow hooves." So, guys, seriously, the more disgusting, the more pus filled, the better. She loves them more than anything else. Just DM her all the videos you can. Show her that love. On that note, I'm going to bid you all wonderful people adieu. I will see y'all on Sunday, which happens to be Halloween, but that's okay because we're gonna talk Jesus. This is what we do. Um, let's. I'm trying to think if there's anything in particular. No, I've already sent everything out to Alan. I'm gonna ask for prayer on one thing. Uh, so I've started a Substack. I'm gonna start another video channel here in a little bit. That's gonna be more art driven. It's going to be about artwork. I'm going to be doing comics. There's going to be cryptozoology. There's going to be religion. It's all going to be in there. But it is going to be me trying to get the heck up out of what I'm doing right now. Obviously, it's going to take a while to do that, but that's what we're doing. Also, happen to sell. I have sold my the first of what I'm hoping to be many images to a particular. I can't say what it is or what it's for, but a television show. They just need some artwork done for their things, so I'm hoping that'll go. So inspiration and strength to knock out these things, right? So we're going to be doing videos of my artwork. We're going to be doing comics. It's going to be great. It's going to be a Substack, and it's going to be awesome. But hopefully, it'll get me out of here so that I can do more. The thing is, ultimately, I need more time to do sirupapers properly and to self-fund that. So to do sirupapers properly is going to require more time than I have. So we're pursuing what I think God's putting in front of me. So we're going to try and do that. So if I could get prayers on inspiration and endurance, I'd be most appreciative. On that note, I will catch y'all wonderful people on Sunday, and then we will wrap up. Well, actually, I will not be on the show Monday because I'm taking Mondays off, or the first Monday of every month off. Bob will be filling in for me. And I'm doing that very specifically to use that time to do research so that we can have, so we can do more varied videos, right? Um, it's going to be, it's just to get more stuff out there on Texas channel. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to be doing all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm not going to ever stop this. I'm not going to stop doing Siru because that's why I'm here. Um, but if you see me take a few days off here and there, it is literally because I need that time to do research to expand and grow what we're doing. That's all. Right now, Thursdays and Sundays are always going to be a deal. But for right now, the first Monday of every month, I will be not on the Texas channel. So just the first Monday of every month. So this next Monday I'll be off, but Bob will be filling in for me, and it's a great time to still watch that show. I will be listening, just doing some research. That's all I'm going to be doing. So we're good. In Titan, there will be a comic on the Great Giant War. There's going to be comics on all kinds of stuff on my Substack. So it'll be fun, and eventually I'll be able to compile them all into one book. And I am still working on Draconis Extinctor. In fact, I talked to AP Comics about it. I got a lot of ideas and a lot of really interesting thoughts, some of which I will use, some of which I'm going to completely disregard, but I will follow the spirit of. So anyway, that's a lot of babble. So I'm going to let y'all have the rest of your days left, or the rest of your day back, and I will see y'all on Sunday. Do behave yourselves. Or not. That's cool. Whatever. I mean, I don't behave all that often either, so it is what it is. I'll leave it up to you. I don't micromanage. Cheers.